Alright, let's take a look at where I flew in February. So the month started out with a trip to Edmonton and then an overnight in Cancun. And then my next flight was to Kelowna. We overnighted there and then rode as passengers to Calgary and then operated to Ottawa. Had a short layover there, and then on the last day we operated to Calgary and finished in Winnipeg. Then I started a pairing in Calgary that I picked up. And this one was a lot of trips back and forth to Victoria. So day one was Calgary, Victoria, Calgary, back to Victoria, overnighted there. Day two, we went Victoria to Calgary, back to Victoria, one more time back to Calgary, but then we went to Vancouver, so that was a nice change. And then day three, we went back to Calgary, and you guessed it, we went back to Victoria. And then we came back to Calgary, and that was the end of that pairing. That was a really great crew and a lot of fun. Then I picked up another pairing in Winnipeg, so I had to commute back. And this one, we went to Vancouver and then back to Calgary, had an overnight there. And then we had 3 flights to do on day 2, where we went Calgary to Winnipeg, back to Calgary, and finished in Winnipeg. But I had picked up another pairing in Calgary the next day, so commuted back. And this one was 1 flight to Comox, overnighted there before coming back to Calgary, doing a quick Comox turn, and then that was a nice, easy 2-day that I had found. And then I had another pairing in Calgary that was a 4-day, so we started out with a Regina turn, and then we went down to Phoenix, and that's where we overnighted on day 1. Then we were kind of Phoenix-based crew for the week, so we went to Calgary and came back to Phoenix, had another overnight. Day 3 was a trip from Phoenix to Calgary, back to Phoenix, had another overnight. And then on the final day, we went back to Calgary, and that was it. But I had a Winnipeg pairing the next day, so commuted back. And then on this pairing, we started out with a trip to Calgary, and then had this Victoria turn before overnighting in Calgary. And then the next day, we did this Seattle turn, and then went back to Winnipeg, and that was the end of that pairing. And then I had one final pairing for the month where we went up to Edmonton, overnighted there. Day 2 was this Vegas turn out of Edmonton. Day 3, we did this Toronto turn out of Edmonton. And then on the final day was one quick, easy flight home. That was a great crew, and that's where I flew in February.